Hey, 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 what's up? It's your man Big Jack Story Time. I'm live on Big Jack Story Time show. I know for many of you that's out there, this is a little different. This is this is not what they're used to. It's like, hey, what's going on, Big Jack? Because normally you do the Battle of the Sexes show on the last Wednesdays, but we're changing some things up, moving some things around, and moving forward, it's going to be Big Jack Storytime Show, the last Wednesdays of the month. So the last Wednesdays of the month is me. It's Big Jack. And I'm here to talk with you about me. So for those who don't know, Big Jack Storytime has two channels. I have two channels on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, of course. I have two channels. I just said that. But I have one called the Iron Sharpening Iron Universe. And then we also have one called the Big Jack Storytime. So the Big Jack Storytime YouTube channel. I'm trying to grow it, trying to get it up there. So if you're watching on the Big Jack Storytime channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm trying to grow that channel because the Iron Sharpening Iron Universe channel, which used to be there, but we changed the name and we got the universe. So I'm not doing anything different with the universe. But at the same time, I'm just trying to let you know that the Big Jack Storytime has its own YouTube channel. So if you want to follow Big Jack Storytime, go to Big Jack Storytime and follow me on YouTube. So with that being said, but I've asked some people, I've asked in the Big Jack Storytime channel to give me some questions that they would like to know about Big Jack Storytime for the first show, the first episode. So I'm asking you, and they put out some questions. So I received some questions via email, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to actually ask those questions or go through those questions, and we're going to learn a little bit more about who Big Jack Storytime is. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that's out there right now. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Big Jack Storytime show, and welcome from the Big Jack Storytime YouTube channel and from the Iron Sharpening Iron Universe YouTube channel. We're live on both channels right now. I use a program called StreamYard, and StreamYard is a wonderful program. I would recommend it to anybody who wants to stream to multiple platforms. I don't get paid by StreamYard. I'm just promoting it because this is what I use. This is what we use for the Iron Sharpening Iron universe. And we got some wonderful shows that come through the universe. So if you're really looking for some real good content, tune in to the universe and definitely make sure that you catch up on some really good shows. The Coach's Corner is on there. The Voices of Resilience is on there. Love Circle is on there. The Iron Sharpening Iron show is on there. So make sure that you tune in to the Iron Sharpening Iron universe so that we got the Ask a Bee show is on there, the We Be Jam Alive show, the Gentleman's Journal, and now the Big Jack Storytime show, which is going to be the last Wednesdays of every month. And it's going to be me, Big Jack Storytime. So welcome everybody that's out there. I see y'all coming up in the chat. Put in the chat where you're from, so we know where you're coming from, so I can see everybody. So put in the chat where you're from so we can meet you all. I want to meet you all, especially those who are coming in through the Big Jack Storytime YouTube channel. So I asked the people on the Big Jack Storytime channel, I said, hey, throw me some questions. What you want to know about Big Jack Storytime? And I'm going to answer them on the show. So, and they sent me some questions, which is pretty cool. So I want to thank everybody who did send questions because that was really cool for the questions I got. I only picked like five, I think five questions that I said I would go through today and we will touch on them. And we're going to have some fun with them. We're going to go down memory lane because some of these questions will take me down there. And it was just getting to know who Big Jack Storytime is. You know, some people like, who cares who Big Jack Storytime is? I care who Big Jack Storytime is. And for those who have been subscribing, I appreciate you. I thank you. And I'm asking you to continue to hit that like button, continue to hit that subscribe button, and that's grow and glow together. We can do that. You know, with the Iron Sharpening Iron universe, my motto is we are stronger together. And I really, really believe that we are stronger together. And the only way we can do that is for each one of us to reach one of us, and each one reach one, we can all grow and glow. That's what it's all about. It's all about that, growing and glowing. So I'm gonna put the questions up on the board. I'm gonna put it up on the screen, and then we're gonna dive into it, and hopefully get you some. So I don't know what's going on with this. The sometimes people put comments out there that just don't mean no, they don't mean anything. I don't know why people would do that. But anyway, but we thank you for even being here and helping us with really the first. It's not the first time I've been here live, but it's the first time I'm calling it the Big Jack Storytime Show, and we're going to move with that. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and pop the first question up on the board. So, hey, and if you're out there, leave a nice comment, hit that thumbnail, hit the like button, leave a comment. And if you're going to leave a comment, tell me where you're from. Let me know where you're from. I like to know where everybody is from so that way we can see. Because I've met people all over the world on through this show, not this show, but through the Iron Sharpening Iron universe, the Iron Sharpening Iron show. Met people from all over the world, and I appreciate the time and that people have spent with me letting me know about them. But this is a time for me to let you know who I am. It's almost like I'm interviewing myself, but I didn't come up with the questions. The questions came from people actually sending in emails asking me certain things. And I said, hey, you know what? That's pretty cool. So let me get the first one up. So let's get the first one up on the board. Let's see. First one up on the board. Let's see. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Boom. It says, Big Jack, who is the most unforgettable person in your neighborhood growing up? Hmm, that's a good question. The most unforgettable person in your neighborhood growing up. Well, anyone who knows me, anyone who's been here longer than one day knows that growing up, I had my best friend, and I had my best friend in the world. We grew up in the same neighborhood. Call him Triple E. He's definitely was inspiration to me growing up. He helped me get out of a very, I would say, a dark place in my life. I was young. I mean, I'm talking middle school, and you're like, well, how dark can middle school be? But I was having a hard time in the beginning of middle school, and it was that relationship I had with Triple E that helped me get over that hurdle that was holding me back. And so with that, to answer this question, who is the most unforgettable person in your neighborhood growing up, it would be Triple E. But another person, just to throw that out there, I know that no one asked for it's not saying persons or people, but Walt Talks, the co-host of the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. Walt Talks is another person that's just unforgettable because of the fact that the relationship we have now, because of the time that we met when we were younger, was huge. It's huge. So that was a big a big time in my life. Even though growing up, Walt Talks and myself was not, we knew each other, we knew of each other, but now I believe we have a real friendship, and I appreciate that brother and Triple E. So that would whoever that was who sent me this question, and thank you for sending the question. But the question itself, the most unforgettable person in your neighborhood growing up. Now, if you were talking about influence, and yes, now then those are younger men helping me, like kids, and they're like peers in a sense. But I had a couple of coaches growing up playing sports in the neighborhood, and I would never forget them. I can remember the sayings they had, the emotions they had, some of the things that they did to help, shape and mold us as not just me, but other young men as we were growing up because of the fact that and we all had don't get me wrong, we just lived in single family homes, and we had parents in the house, mother and father, but at the same time when you get on that field, and especially when your parents work, and you get on the field and you have a coach that's molding you and teaching you the basics of the sports, and you really get into it. I think some of the coaches that I had, that helped me get there, and I don't want to call out any one name because of the simple fact that I don't want to miss anybody who actually was doing some things in my life to help me get there. But I did play tennis and I did play football. I played baseball. I boxed a little bit. So all those different coaches that I came across that helped me get there was huge in my life because it takes, they say it takes a village, and it does take a village. That's the one thing that a lot of people miss out on. It does take a village to help raise a kid. When I was growing up, even though that was in the 70s, so you're looking at the mid 70s. I'm not five. At 75, I'm 5 years old. At 76, 77, at 80, I'm 10. So you start looking at that time frame and what was going on in the country, what was going on, in the area that I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. It was, I don't say it was rough. I mean, like I say, we lived in the neighborhood, single family homes, but it, there still were things going on that, your parents had to watch out for you and make sure that everything was safe because of the fact that, life be life, and to have coaches that took the time out of their schedules, and they had 9 to 5s. But when they got there and we was out there practicing and getting, these skill sets, and it worked. I wish I could go back and talk to them now and it's like, hey, I was able to take that skill that you showed me and move it into the collegiate level and play Division 1 college football. And I've done this, I've done that, and I wish I could because of the fact that it was that push. It was the leading and the influence that they had on my life that allowed me to be able to do some of those things. So I'm saying that because here's the question: who was the most unforgettable? But it's so many people that you want to think. It's almost like you win the Academy Award, or you're winning the Oscar, and you get up there and you want to name all the people who helped you get there, because it did take, or it was a lot of people. But I know the number one person I named was Triple E, and he was definitely the person that got me over that hump, seventh grade into eighth grade, and I will never forget that. I will never forget that part. So, but that answers your question. Hopefully, I mean that was it. So there we go. So this is the Big Jack Storytime show. We're live on YouTube and the Big Jack Storytime channel, and as well as the Iron Sharpening Iron Universe channel. And I'm asking you to hit that like button. I'm asking you to go ahead and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And this is going to be a regular show that's going to be the last Wednesdays of every month. And we're going to throw different things at you. We're going to throw stories, and I like, to tell stories. I like to have fun. We'll laugh and joke. We'll cry a little bit. We're going to do what we're going to do because this is my time with you and your time with me. And I thank you for hanging out with me today. So if you haven't already hit that like button, go ahead and hit that like button. Let me know that you're out there. And if you have, go ahead and hit not just the like button, but go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Become a new subscriber. We need subscribers. I need subscribers. I need subscribers. As they say, like a fat kid needs cake. I need that stuff. I need it. I really do, because that's how we grow, and that's what we're looking for. So go ahead and hit that button and let me know. But I do have more questions, so let's see if I can get another question out there. Let's see. Boom. Here we go. Big Jack. What's something from growing up that kids today would never understand? Something from growing up that kids today would never understand. That's a good question. That's a good question. So let's see. What is something today? What is something from growing up that kids today would never understand? I'm gonna say playing outside. The kids today don't really play outside. I mean, it's a lot of video games, and hanging in the house and, not wanting to be. But we played outside from the time uh, that the sun came up. And if anyone who's from the 70s and the 80s, and I'm even going to say the early 90s, if you're from that time zone, you understand what I'm saying. We went out and we played outside until, from the time that the sun came up. So when the sun was up, we was outside. We was out there and we played. And we played until, and those who was out back in those days, they know what I'm getting ready to say. We played until the street lights came on. Yes, the street lights. We didn't need a watch. So kids wouldn't understand that from when I was growing up. We didn't really need a watch on our hand to know what time it was to get back home, because the rule, and most kids out there, and if that was one of the rules you had, go ahead and hit a heart, hit something, let me know, let the emojis flow so I can see, and drop that comment. The big thing was, you can come out and you can hang out, but you better be home before those street lights came on. Do not let the street lights come on and you're not on your porch, or you're not in your yard, somewhere that your mom or dad or whatever could see you. That was the rule. That was a rule that kids today just wouldn't, they would never understand. When those street lights came on, yeah, we was there. We was in the house, or next to the house. Um, I would say old school discipline. You know, back when I was in school, I didn't have teachers beating on me and stuff like that, but there was some strictness. The calling home, and the teacher actually calling home or writing a note home, sending a note home. Those it's different now because there it's all automated. I get calls from my son's school for whatever reason, but it's automated, or it's a text message, or it's an email. But to have that actual teacher calling your house and telling your parent that you didn't do the right thing or whatever, that's one of those things that kids today wouldn't understand. Just the neighborhood, when I grew up, of course, growing up in the neighborhood, like I say, single family homes, two-parent households and stuff like that. But the parents knew each other. If I was going up the street, I'm going to hang over so and so house, my mom or my grandmother or whoever, they would call that parent and let them know that I was coming. And they would talk on the phone with each other while we were playing, but they knew each other. So that culture that you had in the neighborhood, like I say, the neighborhood coaches and their parents and the neighbors taking care of each other, the village, because that's what it was. It was the village. These were the people that was looking out for you when you walking up and down the street, and made sure that you had water or something to eat if you was out there playing too long. Make sure y'all get some water. Do y'all need something to eat or whatever? And that was cool. That was the culture that I don't think that kids today they see that. So thank you for the question, whomever you were to send it. So moving forward, I'm gonna ask you, if you send me a question, please, and I'll attach the name to the person who sent the question. That way we can make sure we give you credit for sending the question out. And I just want to say again, thank you, thank you, thank you for the question. But those are some of the things. The struggle, the struggle was real, when we was growing up, that kids might not understand today. We didn't have, of course, cell phones, and wasn't no, tablets and stuff like that. Um, we had to, pretty much walk everywhere. I walk out now and I look and I see, well, we had bikes. If you had a bike, it was good, but I'm looking at kids now on scooters with motors, and they're riding up and down the street on motor, scooters, little, it looked like something that I would have been pushing almost like a skateboard. But they're out there and they just stand on it and push a button and it goes. And I'm like, wow, times has really changed. And it's just appreciate some of the things that we had. I know growing up, we would have to drink out of the water hose or take the cap off the fire hydrant. And I wasn't really a fire hydrant kid. So, but we definitely drank out that water hose, because you didn't want to go in the house. You knew that if you went in the house, they would find something for you to do. Why? Because you was the remote. So if you went in that house, you was changing a channel or you was going to get this or get that. So you did your best to stay out of the way. You didn't want to go in because, you had that freedom and the street lights wasn't on yet. So that's something I think that kids today, from when I was growing up, that they just wouldn't understand. I tried to explain to all my kids. I mean, I got all boys, and some of them are grown, and I mean grown. They're 30 years old or higher. But I still got a young one, and I try to explain to them, you just don't understand the grind that we had when we was younger. And I'm sure if I was to talk to my uncle, or if I talk to my father or talk to my grandfather, they would say the same thing, that I didn't understand the grind that they went through, because being born in the 70s and raised in the 70s, you missed a little bit of the fight. I've never been anywhere where I wasn't allowed to go in, and if it was, I didn't go because my parents knew not to take me to that location. Um, it's just one of those things where I didn't see a only sign, like it was only for this race or that race. I just didn't see that stuff. I didn't go to. We went to a public pool and it was open to everyone. I didn't see where the pool wasn't open to everyone. So I missed out too on, I don't say I missed out, but it's some things that I wouldn't understand. So I'm not really picking on kids and saying that's a question that came in, but that is something that I believe that they wouldn't, that they would never understand. But at the same time, I'm sure that my grandparents and I'm sure that my parents went through things that I would never understand. So every generation is going to be different. And it's our fault that they wouldn't understand it, because if we're the ones raising that generation now and they're saying they wouldn't understand. So a lot of it is because, one, we won't tell them. And two, we don't want to go down that memory lane. So we act like it didn't happen. And that's reality. That is reality right there. So, but that was the answer to that question. I want to say thank you. I'm going to take this time right now to we're going to give out a prize. We're going to give out some prizes. Let's see if we can give out some prizes. Make sure you hit that thumbnail. Make sure you thumbnail. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And welcome, welcome, welcome to the Big Jack Storytime show. So let me take this off the screen. We're going to get another question up there. And then with that, we're going to, let me see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. See what we can do. I'm going to see if I can give out a prize or something. Do we have any prizes? Let's see. I got some memberships. Do I got some memberships? I don't know. Let's see. We're going to look. We're going to look. We're going to look. Gifted memberships. Free membership milestone chat. Let's see. Boom. Boom. So if you're watching, there's some memberships that just went out there. Remember, for a month. That's not what I was trying to do, but that's okay. Uh, there you go. Gifted memberships. There we go. Send it 5. Boom. So 5 lucky people are just getting ready to get a free membership for the Iron Shopping Iron Universe show. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And let's see who it is. Trapper Scott Alaskan is in there. Our Pistro Vlog got a free membership. Blessed Crochet got a free membership. Manuel's Aquarium got one. And Awakened Reflection got a free membership. So welcome to you all. You got free memberships to the Iron Shopping and Iron Universe. And congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. I know we got somewhere in here. There's I know somewhere in here is shoot, what is it called? Let's congratulate them. Let's go. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations for, there we go. Congratulations. Yeah. So, all right. So let's throw another question up there. Let's see. Let's throw another question up and see what we got. Boom. It says, Big Jack, what's the craziest thing that ever happened to you at work? Oh, wow. At work, one of the craziest things that ever happened to me at work. So I'm going to have to go back to when I was in the military. So that's a job. Don't that's my job. That was my job at the time. Me, Big Jack Storytime is a veteran of the US Army. Proud veteran of the US Army. So one of the craziest things that happened to me happened at work when I was in the military. And I was in at that time basic training. So I'm in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. It's now in the summertime, and for those who don't know, like when military was soldiers wear their tops, their green camouflage tops. They're called BDUs, battle dress uniforms. And in the summertime, you roll the sleeves up. So the sleeves are rolled up in the summertime, and in the wintertime or fall, they come down and and that's how you wear your uniform. So it's not like there's a short sleeve BDU and then it's a long sleeve. Really, you're just taking a long sleeve and you're rolling it up. Well, when I went into the military, I just came off of the college football field, so I'm stacked. I'm talking Big Jack is Big Jack, and that's how it was. So I'm rolling my sleeve up. I'm rolling my sleeve up. So I get my sleeve up, and when you got, I mean, I had at that time cannons. I mean, if I could show you, you'd be like, wow. But I had big old arms. I had big arms. I mean, muscles bulging everywhere, and I'm not no little guy now, but then I was much bigger. But so the craziest thing that ever happened. So I'm rolling my sleeve up and I get it to a point where I'm trying to pull it above my arm. And I'm pulling it above my arm, pulling it up above my arm, and my hand slips off the sleeve and boom, hit me dead in the chin. I mean, it slipped off, hit me dead in the chin, and I was out cold. So the craziest thing that ever happened to me at work is I knocked myself out cold. I'm telling you, I knocked myself out cold. I hit myself in the chin, and boom, there I go down. And it says, Lucy Warren's World, how you doing? Hey, 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 what's going on? And thank you for tuning in and watching the Big Jack Storytime show. And I'm always glad to see you out there. But I knocked myself out. I knocked myself out cold. So here I am laying in the floor. No, well, really, I was laying on top of my bunk because I fell on my bunk. The drill sergeants coming in. Matter of fact, the other soldiers, because we're in this big bay and it's like 40 bunks, 20 down one side and 20 down the other side. And no one knows what happened. No one saw me do it, so they didn't know what happened. And the drill sergeants come running in trying to figure out what's going on. They thought that I passed out because of the heat. So now they want to stick these IVs in me and all of this other stuff, but because they thought I passed out from the heat from Oklahoma in the summertime. But it wasn't from the heat. It was because my finger slipped off my hand hit my chin, and I knocked myself out. So to me, that was the craziest thing that ever happened to me at work, knocking myself out. I would never tell anybody the story. So for years, years, but time in the military and all that, I didn't want anybody to know that I knocked myself out. It really wasn't until I started doing live shows or even any shows on YouTube that I said I would tell that story. And it's funny that someone would actually question uh, um, what was the craziest things that I've done. But that is one of the craziest things that I've ever done at work was to knock myself out while pulling my sleeve up. And I'm gonna tell you this: if you ever been knocked out or never been knocked out, that's a good thing. But my chin hurt. We're talking like holy cow. So for anybody who don't know and anybody has never been through that, you know, but don't try it. But it was definitely a life lesson where I learned quick that one, I was like, I wouldn't want to get in a fight with me because that man's hand is strong and it like boom. But then at the same time, I'm like, wow, dude, you can get knocked out. So that's the first time I ever been knocked out. First time I was laid out, and it's funny because funny to me, it's crazy because the fact that no one knew what happened, and I was the only one that could stick to the story. So I stuck to the story. Not sure how I passed out. I just passed out, and that's the craziest thing. So again, thank you for whoever sent in that question. That was a really good question. So, Big Jack Storytime Guest is the email address if you want to send in your only questions or your questions. If you want to send in questions for Big Jack Storytime, go to www.bigjackstorytimeguest at gmail.com. So, Big Jack Storytime Guest at gmail.com, and that will allow you to send in your questions. That's also how you can reach out to me if you want to be a guest on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show or the Gentleman's Journal. I'm always looking for interesting guests that's going to tell their story or be up here and hang out with me. Lucy's Warren's World 3115. Hello, hello. I know you're out there, and thank you for hanging out with me. But that was it. So if you now know, you all now know what the craziest thing that ever happened to me at work. But that was during my time in the military. And yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's still funny to this day when I tell a story. There's some, people that don't believe that it happened. And I'm saying they believe it went down. I knocked myself out. But we do have more questions. We do have more questions. I should have threw a little laughter on there. I got some gizmos over here and stuff that I'm still learning to play with. So let's see if I'm telling a story. Ha ha! I knocked myself out. Let's see if this would have worked. Yeah, that wasn't that good. We got to find a better laughter. I like that. But anyway, but I knocked myself out, and that was definitely that was crazy. That was one of the craziest things. So let's find another question. Let's find another question. I want to say thank you for everyone who has tuned in, and all of you are watching right now on Big Jack Storytime channel and the Iron Sharpening Iron Universe channel. It's always cool to be able to hang out with you. And this is going to be a new thing on the last Wednesdays of every month. We're going to build a wonderful relationship together, hanging out, hanging out, hanging out. So again, tell me where you're from. If you're out there and you're watching, drop in the chat where you're from so I know where you're coming from. Where myself, I'm in the East Coast of the United States, right outside of Washington, D.C. And that's where I am. So if you're on the East Coast, hey, West Coast, Central, all of those locations, or you overseas, because I just like to know where you're from. And that way we can learn more about you, and we'll talk about your areas, and you can help us in the chats and then go out there. So drop where you're from in the chat. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, um, and become a true follower of the Big Jack Storytime channel or the Iron Sharpening Iron Universe channel. And here's the next question. Let's throw this up there to see what we got. Oh, what's something your mother or father told you that you never forgot? Hmm. My mom, um, she had me when she was young. So, and that's not a secret. And we talked about that. In fact, she's been a guest on the show before. And she had me when she was young. But I do recall a time that we were at a young girl's funeral. And I'm sitting there questioning because this girl had to be maybe 10 or 11 years old at the most, and maybe not that much. So I'm saying maybe 8 or 9 years old, maybe was her age. And young girl was murdered. This is innocent bystander, and stray bullet unalived her. And so we're at the funeral. And matter of fact, it's not even, it was just the wake, where you go and you see the body and this and that. And I'm standing there with questioning life of how a 8-year old could be, you know, in that situation and what's going on. And they were just because they was at a kiddie party, and the party ended and a fight broke out and person pulled a gun, a pew pew. I just want to make sure I say the right words. Pulled a pew pew and unalived a young lady, not intentionally, but just fired into a crowd of people. And and this young lady who happened to be standing right next to my sister, and that too was, devastating that, she experienced that. And they were about the same age. So my mom, because here's the question, my mom made a comment to me, and she was talking about life, and she was saying, we all just have a start and a finish. We're all going to be, we're going to, when we're born, they give us your date of birth. And then when you pass, they give you your, the day that you passed. And the only thing between those two dates is a dash. And it's only what you do with your dash that matters. So that was the one thing that my mom told me that I will never forget is what you do with your dash. What you do with your dash is the only thing that matter. You only have a dash of time on this earth. You only have a dash of time in the life, in the body that you have. Even if you lived 100 years compared to things that's been around for thousands of years or longer, it's just a dash. And because of that, you have to really say, what am I doing with my dash? The dash of time that I have, the little bit of time that I have on this earth, with my family, with my children, with my spouse, with my friends, with my careers, the little bit of time that you have with all of that, what are you doing with it? What are you doing with your dash? So that was the one thing my mom told me. And that was the one thing that I would never forget because it was life changing in a sense because as you're sitting there and I had to be maybe 16, 17 years old, and I'm pushing to say 17 years old, maybe 15 years old. But to hear, what are you doing with your dash when you're like, I'm 15, I'm not doing anything with a dash. But that young lady was 8. And you still don't think about, I'm going to cure cancer or world hunger or whatever. But who said you couldn't? Who said that you was limited? And that's what I got out of that part. That's what I got out of what my mom was saying. You're not limited. You're not, you can do anything and everything that you want to do with your life. You just got to be willing to do it. And that's the one thing that I got out of that. That's the one thing I got out of what was in my dash is, are you willing and are you not able, because you can be able, but are you willing to do something with it that's going to mean something? That's going to mean something to someone or mean something to something. So that was that time. That was what I got out of it because that was huge to me for my mom to make that comment. And I'm not going to say I didn't cure cancer and I didn't cure or stop world hunger. But I've had some good times and I've helped some people and I've done a lot of things in my life. And I can actually, be able to be here and share these stories with you is part of my dash. That's part of the things that I've done with my dash. And it's huge. It's huge. So that was the one thing. So again, thank you for the person who sent in that question. That's a deep question right there. Was something my mother, father told you that you would they never forgot. And the thing that I never forgot is, when you're born, they can already make your tombstone, and all they're waiting for is the day that you are no longer on in the land of the living, and the only thing between those two dates is your dash. So, and it's funny, haha, but if you go to a cemetery and you look at all the tombstones in there, the dashes are pretty much the same size. So you can look and see a person lived to be 100, same size dash as a person who lived to be 10. So with that being said, there's not a fat dash or a long dash and a short dash. It's just a dash. And that's the one thing I got out of it. So, hey, name, put that in the comments. Put that in the comments if you're out there and you're watching. Drop that in the comments. What's something that your parents told you? What's something that your mother or father told you that you would never forget? I mean, put that in the comments and make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and that's on both channels. So, and oh, I didn't even mention that, but we're also live on Facebook. So we are live on Facebook, live on YouTube. So we're live on three different locations at this very moment. And I'm gonna pull this down because I want to show you one thing. So um, I'm working on. Well, I still got more questions, but we're working on new platforms. So if you haven't been to the Iron Sharpening Iron universe and you haven't seen, so what the universe is about, let me just break this down real quick. The universe is made up of several content creators who come to one location, the Iron Sharpening Iron universe, to showcase their shows. So we have the Circle of Love. We have the Ask a Bee. We have the Coach's Corner. We have the Voices of Resilience. We have the Ladies' Diary, the Gentleman's Journal. And there was a show called The Battle of the Sexes, which was the last Wednesday of every month. But we've made some changes. I made some changes. And now it's the Big Jack Storytime show, which will be the last Wednesday of every month. We also have the We Be Jamming Live, which is the last Saturday of every month. So there's plenty of shows if you want to come into the Iron Sharpening Iron universe. Look at some of the, look at, go into the live tab and see the upcoming live shows that we have, and hit that notification so you won't miss any one of the shows, and you'll definitely you'll be blessed. You really be blessed. So I'll just give you that quick heads up on what it's all about here inside the Iron Sharpening Iron universe. And if you're coming in and you're watching from the Big Jack Storytime channel, hit that subscribe button because we're trying to grow that channel. So the Big Jack Storytime original channel is now on the Iron Sharpening Iron universe channel. And we made the changes because of the concept of all these, or these several content creators coming in and putting their material under one platform. So that's why we did, or that's why we did what we did, and that's why you see the channel the way it is. So we did have 5 lucky winners. We gave away some memberships for this month, and that was Trapper Scotty Alaskan. Congratulations. I forgot to do it. Let me try it again. Let's see. We got it. Let's see. There we go. So that's Trapper Scotty Alaskan, R. P. Rose, Peter Rose vlog. I think that's up your name. Manuel's Aquarium. My friend Blessed to Crochet. And Awaken Reflection. All of them are now members, or they have memberships for a month with the Iron Sharpening Iron universe. Hopefully you really enjoy your time. Hope you come in and hang out with me, and that's really cool. So I'm super glad to have you come in and hang out with me. And we, like I say, the Iron Sharpening Iron show is every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and we have different guests from all over the world, and we have real conversation with real people. So make sure that you tune in and hang out with us. If you haven't already hit that like button, please hit the like button. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, hit that subscribe button. We're always trying to grow and glow, and that's what it's all about. We're talking about growing and glowing, and you are watching the Big Jack Storytime show 100%, and I'm super glad. I got one more question. Somebody dropped this one more question, put it out there, and then one more question, and it's yeah, I think we almost answered this one before, but it says, if today's kids had to survive growing up in the 80s and 90s, would they make it? Of course they would make it. We made it. So I mean, they would make it. For us to say that they would make it is silly. So not saying that the question was silly. The fact that we believe, or some people think, that they couldn't make it the 80s. The kids today couldn't make it in the 80s and 90s. But we got to throw some things out there for them so that they know that, yeah, you can make it, but there's some things you're going to have to do without. One, there was no cell phones. We did not have cell phones in the 80s, in the 90s. And if there was a cell phone, it was about as big as, about that big. So I'm talking, it was a big old, the military radios you see on TV, those satellite phones or whatever. That's where, that's what, if anybody had one of them, then they had, some people had bag phones and stuff. And that was in, that was in the 90s, so that had to been around 94, 93, 94 is when I had my bag phone in my car, so you thought you was something because you had a bag phone, so you had your phone in a bag, you plugged it in through the cigarette lighter. Yes, there was cigarette lighters in cars, and you plugged it in the cigarette lighter, and then when you plugged it in, that's how you charge your phone, and you use the satellite. And back then, and y'all is going to blow your mind, back then, a text message was about a quarter. So 25 cents a text. And I'm not even going, I don't even remember how much it was per minute to talk to somebody. But when back in that day, if you, it was like 25 cents per text message. And it was definitely um, the minutes or the hours that it paid, or it had to actually to to get somebody to talk to somebody. You had to wait for the times. So when that was probably in the 2000s, I wasn't even in the 90s. Lucy, you might know, but back in the 90s, I don't even know if we had even text messages. I might have been, a little bit off on text messaging, but in the 90s, uh, it wasn't. There was no GPS, so you had to learn how to read a map if you were trying to go somewhere. So we was going on a road trip and we was going to drive any distance. You had a map. You had a map, and you would plot it out and say, okay, we're going to go here. We're going to make a left here, make a left there. You had to know how to read a map because there was no GPS. Nothing was going to tell you how to get there. You just you figured it out. But the map was there, so paper maps was out. That was a real thing. So we had paper maps. We had cassette tapes. It was funny. That's a funny story because a cassette tape, I remember being in the garage with my youngest son, and we were cleaning out some things, and I came across some cassette tapes that I had, and he's looking like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Dude, this is how we listen to music and this back in." And it almost blew his mind that we had cassette tapes. And it's funny because if you had a cassette tape, you had to have a lot of people know what I'm talking about, a pencil, because that's how you wound the tape up sometimes, and sometimes the tape get pulled out, and you had a tape recorder, and that's how you played or record on the tape, and you had to have a pencil sometimes because the tape gets stuck, and you had to wind it back up, and but that was something. So kids today wouldn't make it because right now you can just pull your phone out, which we didn't have, and play any songs from this, a series or whatever, or your downloads. And we didn't have all of that either. So we had a cassette tape or a boom box. Anybody remember the boom box, the big radio that, took these 9-volt batteries, not 9-volt batteries, D batteries, those big old batteries. And it took like 100 of them. And you actually had your cassette and you had your radio. We listened to the radio. The stations would come in, you pull the antenna up, and you would listen to the radio. So would they make it? Yes, they would make it, but it would be different. Um, Getting lost outside. Remember, I just said there's no GPS, and you would go so far that you forget where you were at, and you had to try to figure out how to get back. So I remember I talked about him earlier today, my man, Triple E. We were walking one day from my grandmother's house to my house, and she lived in Washington, D.C. I lived outside of Washington, D.C. And it was probably I would say probably about a 10, maybe 15-mile walk. And when we were younger, we could just do that. I mean, I couldn't do it now. So, but 10-15 mile walk. If you was in a car, it'd probably take you 10 minutes at the most or whatever, 15 minutes. But we're going to walk. And I thought I knew where I was going. I've done this trip so many times, but as we're walking, I'm looking at landscapes. I'm looking at cranes in the sky, the construction cranes, and we're using them as landmarks to get from point A to point B, so I can get back to my house, not knowing that there were several cranes out in the area. There's a lot of construction going on, so there were several cranes, and not knowing that there were multiple cranes, we're walking, and we walked and walked and walked and walked. So what should have took, say it was going to take an hour to get these 15 miles in, it took us probably about 10 or 11 hours, and we walked. So um, we started, say, noon on a Sunday. We didn't get into the house until it had to be 5, 6 o'clock in the morning on that Monday. It was summertime, so the parents wasn't upset because we wouldn't miss school or anything, but they were upset because we was in the streets and they didn't know where we were. So my mom and Triple E's mom was really, really, really upset and bothered because we were out there. And remember, I said there was no cell phones. There was no trackers on us or nothing like that, like we have today. So that was just an added stress that we put on our parents that we didn't have to, because we did live in an area that things happen. When I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s, and Washington, D.C. was the murder capital of the world. So a lot of people was being unalived, and a lot of stuff was happening to people. So we definitely stressed our parents out on that one, and it was not intentional. But at the same time, getting lost outside is one of the things that that kids wouldn't, they just wouldn't, they wouldn't know, because right now you can go on your cell phone, and you can put in the address, and it'll tell you every turn step by step. As long as you got charge on your phone and it's got service, you pretty much don't, you won't get lost too much, as long as you knew where you was going in the beginning. Um, Saturday morning cartoons. Oh my God, yeah. So that's another thing the kids, they just, I mean, you got the Cartoon Network and all, but there was nothing like those Saturday morning cartoons. Um, Waking up Saturday morning, I would say a bowl of cereal, but that would be a lie because I would eat the whole box. And yes, we had a bowl, but I would eat the whole box. And back then, that's when they used to put the prize. If you was going to get a prize in your cereal, they put it in the cereal. So you would have to dig in to find the prize. Or what I did was pour the whole box of cereal into a bowl, pour milk in there, and then I would get the prize and eat the whole box of cereal. And I did that. So I know my mom. She like, I just bought this box of cereal and it's already gone. And I'm like, really? I was just trying to get the prize. And why would they put the prize all the way at the bottom? But that changed because now if there's a prize in the cereal box, it's on the outside of the plastic. It's not down in the middle. But shoot, those out there, Cracker Jacks. I don't know, Cracker Jacks with the prize in it. That was some of the coolest stuff that I had growing up. And I'm not saying you had to eat the Cracker Jacks, but it was just getting a prize. Um, so, and I mentioned drinking out of the water hose. So, drinking out of the water hose, it don't sound like a flex. And it's like, well, are you so pumped about drinking out of water hose? But right now, kids won't drink out the faucet. Right now, if it's not bottled water or filtered water, they're not drinking it. And some of it I understand because it's a lot of stuff going on with the water. But we drank right out of the dang water hose. We go to the house, turn the water hose on. And I remember playing football, and my coach, because we got a lot of players and try to get us all able to drink it, longer. He took a copper pipe drilled holes in the pipe. So he had, say, 12 holes in his in his pipe, hooked the pipe up, with a fitter so that the water hose could hook to it, put it on a stand. So he actually made a multiple water hose or water fountain in a sense so that we can all drink. And that was in 85, 86, 87, because that's around the times I was in high school. And that's how, when we took a water break, they would turn that hose on. And the thing is, this was the whole thing that, one, it was a copper pipe, which was okay. I was on a sand, all right, it's out in the hot sun because that's where we were, and the hose was out in the hot sun as well. So even though you turn that water on, it was like drinking hot tea because it was hot outside. The pipe was hot. The water hose was hot. So the water coming out was just as hot. So if you was the first one there in line and was trying to, you dang near burned your face off because you was trying to get some water. But those are some of the things. I mean, I say, would they survive? Of course, they would survive. I mean, the kids are kids. They're resilient. They'll make it work. But at the same time, those were some of the things that I don't know about we. And if you're out there and you remember some of those stories and live some of those things, come on. Hey, to the point, what was that favorite cartoon? What was that favorite Saturday morning cartoon if you grew up and you watched Saturday morning cartoons? What was your favorite one? I mean, I'm talking about the old school Bugs Bunnies and Looney Tunes, and, the Laugh Olympics and stuff like that. Those are some of the things that I watched, and I watched it until the cartoons went off, and then when the cartoons went off, then of course on Saturday it was the only time I was trying to hang in the house, and I would watch cartoons, and then I would go outside and play, unless there was a game going on because I was playing sports. But that was it. That was our life. That was it. So I'm about to wrap this up. This has been really, really, really cool. I'm super excited to be able to have my own show. Hey, the Big Jack Storytime Show. And I thank you for hanging out with me and coming out here. In the near future, I plan on doing a whole lot more, sharing a whole lot more stories with you. Maybe get some people up on the stage and we can talk about some of these things. But keep sending in those questions. Remember, it's Big Jack Storytime Guests at gmail.com. Send in those questions. Let me know what you're thinking, and we'll make sure we get it out here on the show. I want to do shout outs. I want to do birthday shout outs, all of that stuff. But you got to let me know. You let me know, I'll put you on the show. I'm shouting you out. I'm shouting you out. I'm shouting you out. So for everybody that's out there that's been hanging with me and tuning in for my first episode of the official Big Jack Storytime show, which will be the last Wednesdays of every month moving forward, starting today, on the Iron Sharpening Iron Universe YouTube channel and the Big Jack Storytime YouTube channel, and even on Facebook. But I want to say thank you for hanging out with me. We do know, and if you didn't know, you will know in a very shortly, or very shortly, you will know that we are produced by BBTV Productions, Boss B TV. Boss B is our producer, and she's done a wonderful job getting us in order, getting things right. So this is going to be a little change for her when she find out. She'll know. Nobody knew I was going to do this today but me, and I didn't know until I did it. So, but I'm super, super, super hyped. But I did ask for a thumbnail to be created. Let me see, did they create a thumbnail for me? Let's see if we can show an image real quick. Let's put it up on the screen and see if we got one. Not a thumbnail, but a logo. Boom. Tell me what you think on this one. Tell me what you think. Boom, there it is, the Big Jack Story Time live. Story, laughs, lessons, memories that last. So, that's it. That's me. That's me. That's me. And I'm super happy, super excited, super proud. And I thank you for hanging out with me. So you've seen it. You've seen it. You've seen it. You've seen it. And this is going to be a once a month type thing. And we might do it more. I mean, I don't know. Because I got some other Wednesdays that I can put the show on. The only one that's really taken is the first Wednesday. And, I might do that. That might be my new thing where every Wednesday, except for the first Wednesday, because that's the ladies' diary, but the rest of them is the Big Jack Storytime show. So until next time, I want to say thank you. I want to say what's up, and I want you to stay blessed. And we'll talk to you later, without a doubt, on the Big Jack Storytime channel, the Iron Sharpening Iron Universe channel, and the Big Jack Storytime show. God bless you all. Talk to you later. Peace.